guys, it's Elise Quevedo here, and today I'm back with the incredible Edwin Diender, which is Huawei's Chief Digital Transformation Officer. Hi, Edwin.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me, Elise.
How are you today? Where are you today in the world?
I am residing currently in Bangkok, Thailand.
Wow, incredible. So greetings from Spain at the moment, which is where I am.
Cool.
And I wanted to tell, I've known you for a while, Edwin, and one of your key topics is smart cities, something that I think is an incredible topic in the tech world nowadays. And you recently started a blog on the framework for a smart city construction. So I wanted to talk about that today. And my first question is actually about something that you talk, which is about the Rubik's Cube. So can you actually share the principle behind that?
The principle about my thought process, or the principle on the Rubik's Cube?
You can do both.
I can do, well, the two are tightly coupled. So here's the thing. If something goes on in a city, for example, the area where you live or the area where I live, I'm sure we all can relate to the scenarios where at one morning you wake up, you dress up, you go outside, you go to the office, and you find that your street is kindly sort of blocked because the electricity company or the water company or the lighting company for streetlights or anything, something goes on in your street. And then it's a bit of a hassle. You have to go around things. It gets muddy and dirty, all that kind of thing, right? And then after a few days or a few weeks, everything is repaired and everything goes back to normal until, I don't know, a couple of months later. And again, the same scenario. And again, of course, you missed the paper of the government, the local government, telling you that they need to open up the road again because first it was the water, but now it's another project that they're doing in the city or that they're doing in your area. And that goes on for a couple of months or a couple of weeks. So there's a bit of a cycle where certainly each and every time as you go on, your road gets, blocked. And it got me thinking because the information that you get as a resident is usually a template. It's a document that only requires your name. It requires a date, but the message is more or less the same. We're very sorry about this. It's not going to take long. If you got specific questions, you can ask, here and here and there and there. If this is a disrupt to your family, or if you got disabled family members in the house, you can, you can reach out to someone. It seems a very out of the computer template kind of thing. So things are slightly automated. So here is what got me thinking. When I speak to government officials, when I speak to council workers, when I speak to prime ministers, when I speak to ministerial departments, all of them talk about digital transformation. All of them relate to more or less the same thing, which is doing something in a residential area to help move that area higher up the value chain. But clearly none of them speaks to the other. But clearly everything is linked and everything is connected. It's one government, it's one initiative, it's a number of stages that are passing through. It is on the government side, it is the same license that the electricity company needs to apply for to be able to block the road. Just like the water and the utility company or anyone else, or maybe even my neighbor who is trying to do an extension to the house needs to apply for a license to block the road because something's going to happen. Then I got to the birthday of the younger son of my brother, and he got a Rubik's Cube for his birthday. And as a kid, I grew up with Rubik's Cube. And the principle of Rubik's Cube is following a structure. The principle of Rubik's Cube is that it is built up with pieces that can move independently without breaking the structure. And those two combined gave me a very good insight into a presentation that I prepared, a keynote for the Shenzhen Smart City Summit and International Friendship Cities on my birthday last year, May 15th, in Shenzhen, where I presented my keynote. And my keynote was based on the principle of Rubik's Cube, a digital platform which is horizontal, that can bridge different information silos. But it is not about these building blocks that make this cube. It is about the hidden lines that are between these 9 squares, these 9 cubes on each side of the cube. To me, that is a framework. So if I stash all these cubes, and if I make it wider, if I make it higher up, if I make it deeper, so I don't make a 3 by 3, but I make a 5 by 5, or a 10 by 10 by 10, or a multi-million by a multi-million by a multi-million. And if I link it together, also then I am connected via a framework that is built with pieces that can move independently without breaking the structure. And I thought that was the best analogy for the framework for smart city construction, which is also building blocks. It is pieces that are linked together by a wire frame, a framework that allows pieces to move independently without breaking that structure. And that to me is what the framework for smart city construction is about. And I'm doing a blog series on that. Six series in different topics, and in the end they will all be combined, and it will probably become a white paper. And with one of the analyst organizations that we are working with, and maybe with a university, I think we will make some sort of a white paper or a more extensive or academic paper out of it. That's my initiative.
Wow, that is incredible, Edwin. And as I mentioned, I'm really intrigued by all these blogs. I'll definitely be following up on that, and want your time if you're available to do more follow-ups. Now, you mentioned that each piece can move independently and will not break that structure. So can you now break that down, but from the smart city perspective? I can see the vision of the cube. I understand it because everything is linked, but it's not actually together because they're independent pieces. And so how do we transfer that now onto the smart city?
So if you think of Rubik's Cube as an example, and if you would consider that it consists of pieces, which are connected via an invisible structure, that allows these different pieces to move independently without breaking it, then we could say that the core and the centerpieces perhaps are a very good metaphor for what Huawei calls the intelligent operations center, the brain and the nervous system of a smart city, for example. And if we think about the edge pieces and the support pieces, that could very well be a metaphor to the ecosystem that carries it and that supports it, and that's also part of it. And the cornerstones, of course, but we've talked about this before. Cornerstones, in my opinion at least, are the safe cities. Safe city is the cornerstone for smart city construction. So the cornerstones in this Rubik's Cube analogy become a metaphor for safe cities. And I think those 3 parts combined, so an intelligent operations center with a strong ecosystem and cornerstones, safe city. So it's safe end to end, it's secure end to end, because it's a rigid construction, right? And I'm sure we've in our past have touched the Rubik's Cube and maybe dropped it or threw it in the corner because you couldn't solve it, right? Yeah. But it didn't really break. And if it broke, you could click it together and it would work again. Actually, I found as a kid that you could actually break it apart and you could click the pieces back together in such a way that it was actually solved. It looked like it was solved. But anyways, it still works. It still works. So it's a very strong wireframe in this case. So those are the 3, let's say, core elements of each of these squares or cubes, if you like.
I love it. To be honest, this is one of the reasons why I like talking to you, because you always explain it in such a simple term. You don't really use the big buzzwords, which kind of really annoys me, to be honest.
Me too.
To understand what this is, and this is why I want to do this series with you to delve deeper without the real buzzwords, people. You don't need to use them to explain what someone is. And Edwin, you're now using the Rubik's Cube, which I believe everybody can actually relate to. You can put the image on your head. Yes, I see
Right.
the cube. Yes, I understand what you just said about the pieces breaking. Yes, I understand now about the framework, that it needs to be strong, that even if something goes wrong, it's not really completely failed because everything else is supporting each other. So thank you for breaking it that way. And something that you mentioned is
I got another one for you. I got another one for you if this is what you like. You know, each cube has 6 sides.
Okay.
And each side could represent a specific domain, or maybe each side could represent a specific industry or a specific problem, perhaps, or maybe the 6 ministerial departments that now had to work together. They are alongside of each other, maybe in a cross kind of structure. But if we fold it all back together, we got this. We got this cube. I'm just throwing it out there. And if we think about it further, if we take it all apart, so we take all these pieces and we fold it open, we got squares. So imagine maybe that each square is like a pyramid. So now, because that's how it works, right? There's a pyramid, a hierarchy of needs, perhaps, for smart city construction. Where the lowest layer is maybe the infrastructure, and then there is a level of security, and then there is the top layer again, which pivots into the brain. All these 6 squares, these 6 parts, each has a pyramid on top of it, a pyramid of needs. If we fold it all back together again, it fits. It really fits. It's the wonder of geometry.
I love that. This is now going to be a separate video on another discussion, because I love the way of thinking. Putting simple things that everybody understands and attaching it to something that really matters. Which now takes me to something else you wrote on this first blog, and you've mentioned before, which is the digital platform for the smart cities, Huawei's digital platform. So can you tell us more on?
At least the way how I look at it. So of course we, as an organization, but many other organizations as well who have a technical background, when we talk about platforms, we mean everything technical, all the technologies, the features, the functions, and what have you. And if we bring that together into boxes, and these boxes are going into a data center, then that data center becomes the visualization of a platform. So if you want to understand what a platform looks like from a technical point of view, go to a data center or go to the computer room, open the door, and just look. But that's not how I view platforms, to be honest. I'm very much of the principle where the platform is a principle. It's the principle of a platform. Just like you can have a computer system, or you can have a system for computing. There is a system, like a mechanism. So the digital platform, the principle of a digital platform. And for me, the principle of a digital platform is a capability that can overlay different information silos, that can pull up everything that is fantastic within these information silos, and that bridges them. We don't break them apart. We don't migrate them yet. We just see what we can reuse, and we link it to this overlay principle of a platform. To me, that is what a digital platform should be about. So not digital from a technical point of view, but digital from a principle point of view. A digital platform. And that's how I look at it.
Once again, hashtag real talk from Edwin Diender. This is why we have these conversations, and it was a great explanation. Hashtag. And I do have a question that I'm sure you get asked all the time, but is, what does it take to kickstart a city into a smart city?
Ooh. Well, we've talked about this before as well. It sits with definition of smart, which of course doesn't match, because there's no such, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a smart city. In every city, there are things that are being done in a smart way. But really, if you're doing a smart parking project, did you then create a smart city? another question that pops up is, after you've done a number of these things for a while, where is then the moment in time where you have become a smart city? And is that then the end of it? So I'm going to give you a scoop here. In the course of my blog publications, I will back away from smart city. I will move into intelligent cities. An intelligent city is a city that understands what goes on and what is needed to help the city move higher up the value chain by making daily operations more efficient for each and every one that is either in the city, that is passing through this city, that is coming into this city from outside, or that is coming in from the city from one side of the city to the other side of the city. So that's where I'm aiming for. That's where I'm aiming for. So an intelligent city. Now, what does it take to gigastart? What does it take to gigastart? It starts with a vision and an ambition and guts, really the guts. And in my second blog post about in this 6th series, I talk about the changing role of a mayor, which more and more becomes a city manager, or maybe even an executive, where, well, the bureaucracy and the red tape is not what it does all that, right? It's not about managing from an operational point of view, but it's having a vision. Where do you want to, how do you want to put this city on a map? What is this city going to stand for? If I live in this city, why should I not leave? Why should I stay? And of course I could stay because my friends and family live in this city, but usually people stay in this city because it's a good living ground. It's a healthy environment. It's safe. It's secure. It has a good health system, and so on and so forth. But what about investments in the city? What about changes in the city? What is the attractiveness, or how do we brand a city from a marketing point of view, for example? And how is the money going around in city? I don't talk about taxes. I talk about funding and financing and investments, initiatives and programs. So what does it take to gigastart a city? Guts. A vision and an ambition and guts in the hands of someone who considers him or herself, because I don't care who or what it is, to lead this and to link the people and the stakeholders and to find the funding for it. Very managerial, almost like an executive. And there's many examples of city managers worldwide that have this attitude. And the reason that I came to this idea and that I came to this thinking is because I met a lot of those people. I've met different kinds of those people. I've met the bureaucracy kind of mayors. I've met the white collar kind of mayors. I've met the mayors that think of their cities as nothing more than places where people live. So they're not dressed up, they're dressed down, just like everybody else wears, sneakers, jeans, a jersey, or what have you. But some of them really, some of them are so fantastic. They present themselves as visionaries, as executives, and they know exactly how to sell their city to me, and why should we invest with them in their city and not in the one next door, or 20 kilometers down the highway up north, right? Why should we go to New Jersey and not in New York? Why should we go to, Cupertino, and why shouldn't we not go to, Santa Clara or Los Gatos, that kind of thing. Why should we go to Barcelona? Why should we not go to Madrid, right? Why? Someone needs to explain that to you. So finding the right partnerships, guts, that's gigastarting a city, I would say. That gigastarts the digital agenda that a city has to have in place.
Wow.
And as that happens, more people get enthusiastic. People want to embark on this. People want to join that. People want to be part of this. That's really what's needed, because it's a journey.
Wow, you actually touched on a point that we also often speak about, which is the collaboration. Without partners, without collaborating with the right people, companies would not move forward. So I completely understand that to kind of kickstart this process of a smart city, you need to have the right partners in place, the right tech partners, the right financial people, the right planners, the right strategists. And to be honest, this goes back then kind of a little bit to the Rubik's Cube, because it's all parts of that cube. If you've only got one piece, it is not a Rubik's Cube. But if you have all these different
it's still a Rubik's Cube, but a very tiny one. But it only circles, and it's still connected to something else. But you have to be aware of the fact that whatever goes on is linked. It's linked. It's universal. Just like this planet is linked to a universal structure that allows all planets and all heavenly bodies and extraterrestrial bodies out there in the universe move around each other independently without breaking that structure. And it's also very, very tiny. If you would go right through your skin into the level of the molecules and the atoms and the electrons and the photons and what have you, you will see that also there things are pieces are moving around independently of each other in some sort of a structure without breaking that structure.
I'll be honest, I think you've kickstarted something with this analogy.
Certainly for me, it brought me back into the game of my youth. I actually got a couple of these Rubik's Cube in my house in Shenzhen, in China. Not all of them finished, but some of them have. Yeah.
Wow! So you'll definitely become an expert by the next time I see you.
Not from here, because I need to buy a new Rubik's Cube here in Thailand, which I'm sure they have. But
I'm sure they do. So, of course, I would love to talk to you forever, but we can't. So I've got one last question, which is pretty much, what would be your one key takeaway for people in regards to the universal framework of a smart city, which is basically the compilation of blog post number 1?
Basically, the compilation of blog post number 1 is that the universal framework for smart city construction is built on pieces that can move independently without breaking that structure. And if you have trouble with understanding that, then just look at a Rubik's Cube and you get it.
Wow, thank you so much, Edwin. Well, guys, there you have it. This is a video recap on Edwin's blog post number 1, which, of course, on the description, I will put a link. Now, Edwin, thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to talking more about the blog post series that you are doing. And something that really caught my attention, once again, #Real Talk, is that you're going to be moving from talking just to smart cities, which technically it is a bit of a buzzword because everybody uses it, and you're going to be moving towards intelligent city. So I'm intrigued by that. So thank you so much, Edwin, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.